Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome to our speakers that agreed to be here today to enrich this webinar with their experience. My name is Marina Domingas and I'm one of the communication managers for this project. I work at F6S alongside with my colleague Luisa. And today we will be having this webinar to clarify a bit about the project and about the open call, how to apply, and also give you an example of some examples of some use cases that are already engaged in the project so that you can understand more if your use case is a good fit or not. So for the agenda, you can see my screen, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So first we will have Andrea explaining a bit about what is this thing of AI planning, what is the project about, what you can expect. Then we will have the presentation of the use case that is already engaged in the project from Procter & Gamble, from Fabio. Then we will have our use case open call to use case winners from Raw Mobility, explaining their use case and how they end up here and what is the project doing for them and how the project will help them, optimize the solution for their problem. Then Luisa will walk you through the open call 3, the procedures, how to apply, what you need to do, and then we will have some time for Q&A. But as we go, if you have questions, please write them on the chat. We will be sure to answer everyone. So with no more ado, I will give the word to Andrea.
Thank you so much, Marina. So let me share the screen. Can you see my screen, Marina? Sorry.
Yes, it's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, sorry. So somehow I got a message that it was capturing my computer audio. Sorry about that. Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Micheli. I am the project coordinator, the technical coordinator of AIPlan4EU. And I will be giving you a short introduction to the project structure and what we are trying to do. And try to also give you the idea of what are the use cases that we are looking for and why we are looking for this kind of use cases. So first of all, let me give you a little bit of overview of the partners that are involved in the project. As you can see, we have 7 research centers, including FPK, the company the research center that I'm working in. Plus, we have a number of companies and small medium enterprises who are providing us with use cases and demands for the planning technology that the project would like to develop and to bring to the market. A little bit of context. So the European Commission invested quite a lot of resources and time in the development of this AI for Europe initiative, that is the European platform for the AI on demand. The idea behind the platform is to bring together stakeholders and AI resources, try to somehow overcome the fragmentation that you have in AI. So the idea is to have a platform where people developing AI solution are actually putting their technology there. You can see, for example, experiences that companies or small medium enterprises had with the use of AI technology. And so you can create sort of a networking zone, a networking platform where you can get in contact, you can see things regarding AI that is happening around Europe. Of course, the idea there is to somehow remove the barriers, bring people together and accelerate the AI innovation. Around this idea, and more in general around AI, Europe is investing a lot of money and in different kind of initiatives. We are up here. So there is this AI4EU initiative that is under the umbrella of Horizon 2020. And AIPlan4EU is one among 6 ICT49 projects. So Andrea, projects that are listed here, so Stairway, Energy, and so on. The aim of this project is to bring content, to bring new services to the AI4EU platform. And in particular, AIPlan4EU, so the project that we are working on, is focused on automated planning. Yep, yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but you are not showing the slides. They are not, you are still in the first thing. Sorry.
Oops. Let me try to reshare then.
Yes, Andrea, try to share the whole session instead of one page. Probably it's an issue of Google, of Zoom.
Yes, so let me try to share the entire display then. Share it. Okay. Can you see them now?
No. Yes.
So I am in a slide called automated planning in a nutshell. Is that visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. And if I change?
Yeah. It's
okay, good. Thank you. Sorry about that. So I was saying that the content of the project is about automated planning. And here you have an overview from a very, very high level of what is automated planning. So the idea is a technology that given some description, some model of a system, and here system can mean different things, can be a robot, can be a factory, can be the process with which you hire your employees, whatever, right? Some kind of thing that you would like to control in a way in order to reach a certain goal, right? That is the objective that you would like to satisfy. The job of a planner is to find a way, a course of action in order to drive this system from an initial configuration, so the state that you are currently in, to the desired configuration. And again, this is a very high level overview. So here we can have different kinds of plan, different kind of strategies. Maybe you want to generate a Gantt chart, maybe you want to generate a sequences of command for a machine, and so on. So this is the, let's say, the area that we are tackling. Examples of applications include planning and coordination of robots, and here the underlying goal is to achieve a flexible, robust, and cost-effective kind of automation. You can do flexible manufacturing, so you want to maximize the production and minimize the cost. So here your system is a factory. But there are, of course, other domains apart from this one. There is logistics. Maybe you want to organize the agricultural practices, so you want to, put together different agricultural activities in order to achieve, for example, to minimize the environmental impact of these agricultural practices. So here, and this is important for the open call that is currently open, we are looking for new ideas, new ways in which planning can be applied in any domain, right? In any application area. So we have no constraint on the application domain. We are looking for interesting, innovative, or important in terms of impact planning applications. And then clearly we think that planning is a vital need to be present in this AI for Europe initiative. And our job, so the job of the project, is to reinforce this AI for Europe platform by bringing planning as a first-class citizen. We set ourselves to 6 major goals to achieve. The first one is to make planning accessible to practitioners and innovators. So what we are trying to develop is a technology that is easy to use for people who want to use this kind of AI techniques. We want to facilitate the integration of planning with other ICT technologies. We recognize the fact that you can have a super clever planner, but if you are not able to integrate it in an existing ICT ecosystem, in a sort of digital environment in your domain, then planning is less useful, is less relevant. So we want to simplify this kind of integration. We want to make planning relevant in diverse application sectors. And again, here, one of the goals of this open call is try to see around Europe where are like the possible use cases for this kind of technology. And the more diverse, the more variety we can find for the use cases, the better for us. We want to integrate, of course, in the AI4EU platform again. We want to facilitate also the learning and lowering the access barrier to the planning technology. We try to use the platform as also a sort of educational platform in order to explain to people what planning is. And then finally, we would like to drive academic research towards application. We want to make planning a little bit more practical and try to bring back these use cases, these interesting problems to the planning research community that is represented in the project. This is the vision from a more technological point of view. I will go quick on this one in the sense that it's more for the open call for innovators than for the use cases, but we are constructing this unified planning framework, a sort of abstraction layer to planning technology that allows you to pose planning problem independently on the technology that you're using it to solve it. It's a sort of one-stop shop for posing planning problem, and then we have a number of engines that are capable of solving these planning problems. Instead, is more important the orange part of this figure, because provided this technology that is sort of the Azure part of the picture, what we want to offer is essentially an API, a way to construct a technological solution, ICT solution, that make use of planning problem. And what we are looking for in particular is use cases. So example application or problems that might be solved with planning, or where planning can be an important part of a solution. And we have this cascade funding that we will discuss later also, Luisa, as a presentation about that. We want to use part of this cascade funding to find these new use cases and develop demonstrators for these use cases. We developed this library. So what you see in this slide is essentially the concrete implementation of the big blue square here in the middle, the Unified Planning Framework. It is currently a library, so it is something, it is a software that is running. We are actively developing it with our technological partners, and it's completely open source. So it is permissively open source. It allows you to create and build a scalable planning-based solution. Now, what is important in particular for this open call is clearly define what is a planning use case. So I said at the beginning that planning is a decision-making technology. So what it allows you to do is to somehow either automate or optimize some decisions in your environment, right? In your application-specific environment. Say that you are, I don't know, the manager of a logistic warehouse. What are your decisions? Well, you have to decide where to move the pallets, which workers or which machines to assign to which movement or to which activity throughout the 8-hour shift. And so this is the definition of what are the decisions that needs to be automated or to be optimized, right? And this is the first key questions that you need to ask yourself when you want to define a planning use case. And defining the planning use case is exactly what we ask in this open call. The second question is, what data is available for taking such decisions? So if the decision, for example, are currently taken manually, probably your decision-making people are actually looking at some data in Excel, or they are, they have some information coming from the field, and based on this information, they are taking the decision. We need to understand, in order to automate or to optimize this decision, what is the data that you are using in order to take these decisions, and whether this data is a constant thing, so something that never changes, so it's sort of background knowledge, and whether instead it is something that changes. For example, if you take again the example of the warehouse, probably how many shelves you have, or how many trucks can arrive in your warehouse is a fixed thing. Instead, the orders for the day is something that is contingent. It changes on a daily basis or even on an hourly basis. And then finally, how often is the decision being taken? So should you decide the entire, let's say, work plan for the entire shift, or is it something that you need to decide what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes and then you plan again? So this is another important question to be answered before deciding whether, first of all, whether planning can be used or not. Second, which kind of planning technologies are relevant in this application domain. So 2 examples quickly coming from our partners in the project. One is optimizing agricultural practices. So here the idea is to minimize, for example, the fuel consumption, avoiding the waiting times of the machine, so optimizing the use of the resources that you have. And another thing is the reduction of soil compaction, so avoid drive more than needed, let's say, on the same area of the field, because that actually, kind of compresses the soil, making it less suitable for agriculture. Another example, more a classical one, this is flexible manufacturing. So there is this, our partner Meritor, which is a big factory in Sweden, and they build these things that you see in the picture, that are truck axles. And as you can imagine, that there are a lot of pieces entering in this kind of product. And you have to somehow organize the activity of the different departments of the factory. Each one is constructing a part of the final assembly. They have different kind of axes, and so you need somehow to put together all these small activities in the factory to flexibly construct the product that you want at the end in a way that is as effective as possible, as flexible as possible, as robust as possible. So that's their problem. And then finally, I wanted to mention what do we mean by integrating in the AI4EU platform, so in the European AI on demand platform. We actually have in mind two kinds of integration. The first one is we would like to bring the technology that we develop within the project as services. In particular, in the platform, there is this experiment subsystem that allows you to, without installing anything on your machine, experiment with AI technology. And we would like to bring planning there so that people, most notably, I would say researchers or technical people, can play with planners without installing anything on their machine. The second kind of integration is to construct some downloadable resources, some material that is there in order to document what planning is, document the experiences that we had. So what are the use cases, how we approach them, what worked, what didn't work. And this will actually constitute what we call a planning cookbook, sort of material that is there available to everybody, and that tries to somehow make the point in planning, making it clear where it can be applied, where it works, where it doesn't, and so on and so forth. As an example of how it looks like, so these are screenshots of actual pages that are there in the AI4EU platform, and we would like essentially to also contribute more use cases. So the winners will also have the opportunity to be there and to put their material there. And this is a screenshot instead of the more technical stuff, so the integration in the AI4 Experiments platform. I will conclude by mentioning a little bit the open calls, then Luisa will probably contribute a little bit more in detail. So with this, the objective of the first open call for use cases, that is the one that is open now, is to find new use cases for planning technology. We have in mind essentially three objectives. One is to show or to ensure that our technology that we develop is based on a set of requirements that is general enough for this let's say use case that are elicited via the open call. We want to evaluate the generality of our approach, so we test whether what we have is general enough. And lastly, to serve as training material. And the winners for this open call will have the possibility, first of all, to discuss with us about their use case. And so we will organize workshops in which we discuss, the planning use case. Maybe we try to somehow guide the winner into what constitutes a real planning problem, where planning technology can be useful and where it doesn't. And then the winners will have the opportunity of participating in another open call, the open call for innovators, in particular in track C, where we will look for people who are willing, together with the winner, with the use case provider, to bring us, let's say, and to develop a demonstrator. So showing, by concretely developing a demonstrator, that our technology, so the UPF, can be used in that specific use case that you are proposing in the open call for use cases, and by essentially, measuring on an actual implementation some KPI. So developing a sort of small project, a small acceleration project that is 7 months long. And of course, we have the money to finance these activities. So that's it on my side. I'm very happy to hear any question that you might have. And again, you feel free to contact me also via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for your presentation, for giving such a good overview of the project and what we are looking for. You have a question in the chat if you want to answer. So now I'm giving the word to Fabio. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. So I'll start sharing my screen and go in presentation mode. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, thank you. A little bit of introduction on myself. I'm Fabio Zonfrilli. I'm a principal scientist in research and development in P&G. I'm located in Brussels. I've been working my entire career in P&G, which started 15, 16 years ago. I'll give a brief intro of what P&G is and does for those of you who don't know it, and then we can dive into what we're doing with the AIPlan4EU project. So let me start with the intro. I work in the research and development of P&G. That's the first important point. So in this case, we're not the people that work in manufacturing or supply chain. We are the people that research on new consumer products. So what P&G is at a glance, it's a company that has more than 150 years of history. It was founded in 1837 in North America, and today it's really a global company. So we have sales pretty much around the globe. And R&D is really an integral part of what we do. So our objective is to improve the lives of consumers all over the globe with superior consumer products. And as you can see there, we were one of the first to launch an R&D department on its own in 1920. So again, the history of innovation in our company is very long. What P&G does, you can recognize it. There are 10 what we call business categories. So these are all most of the consumer products we sell over the globe. In my specific case, here in Brussels, we do research and development of what we call the fabric care and home care products. So you might see a few of the brands that hopefully you use. P&G, just by the numbers, as said, we invest a lot in R&D. We have thousands and thousands of active patents, and we apply for new every year. We invest roughly 2 billion in R&D. That was in 2020. And globally, we have a population of about 7,500 R&D employees with very diverse nationalities. We employ a lot of PhDs. Me personally, I did a PhD in robotics a very long time ago. And again, these are our, let's say, geographic locations for research and development. So again, in terms of sales and operations, we have it pretty much around the globe. In terms of technical centers, they are concentrated in US, in Europe, and Asia. So you see the research centers in Europe, in Brussels, where I work, Germany, and UK. That's just to give a snapshot of who we are. Now we come to the AIPlan4EU project. I would start maybe just to summarize what is the R&D problem, which might not be obvious for people who have never worked in consumer goods, in the consumer goods industry. Our mission is really to develop winning consumer products and packages. So we constantly work on finding what's the next new innovation, what's the next product that we're going to place on the market. In doing so, can be hard to imagine, but there are hundreds of thousands of design choices. We have a lot of formulated liquids, so detergents, shampoos, toothpastes, in which there are hundreds of ingredients. So we need to define the new system, the new flavor, the new perfume, the new color of all these products, and also the the bottles that they contain. And most of our products have a very high level of actives. So they need to clean our clothes, they need to remove stains, they need to wash our dishes. And so there is a number of performance elements that we need to guarantee. For this reason, testing our product is a critical part. So we do a lot of tests with consumer panels. So for a typical test, we can recruit up to 230 people in different geographies. We ship them our products, they test it in their homes, and they give us a score. But this kind of testing is very expensive and very long to do. So in order to drive our innovation, we have come up with a lot of what we call lab tests. And this is the area where we concentrate. So testing products is really a critical part of our development process. And think that there are currently over 5,000 individual lab test methods. So a lab test method is essentially a procedure through which we take one of our prototype products, we test it in the lab to do something, to clean, to how the bottle responds, or for example, you see there how a Gillette razor holds the blade. Again, thousands and thousands of them. And a lot of these are sometimes are even manual tests. So there are people, humans, that actually need to run the test. So you can imagine the important part is the reliability of these approaches and the quality of data that we generate. And as you can imagine now, with the advent of more and more of robotics and AI, we're trying to leverage as much as possible automated test methods that can run in a much faster way. They can run overnight. They can be a lot more reliable than manual and human testing. Next to this, so to the older robotics procedures that we are developing, we also have some high throughput testing machines. I'm showing an example. This is the unit that performs stability testing. So stability testing is the procedure with which we make sure that the product we formulate are good, safe, and stable over the whole supply chain. And so this needs to happen in a very long period of time. The products need to go in certain temperature conditions. They need to age for a certain time, and then we need to test them periodically. So we're talking thousands of samples that can test it tens of thousands of times. So after this brief intro to what is the R&D problem and the test methods, so just wanted to spend a few minutes here on what are our problems with planning, and I would say that they are I put them here in order of growing complexity. So the first thing that we do every day is the scheduling of test samples with all the constraints that we have. So we have limited capacity, of course. We have certain tests can only be run in a certain sequence. We need to cope with the availability of labs, instruments, operators. So really this planning, which they still done a lot by, let's say, manually, I would say is the first level. As the second level, you've seen that we're starting to use more and more robotics for testing our products. So when we develop robotic methods, there are a lot of planning problems, not only with the traditional motion planning per se, but also when it comes to the interaction between a robot and testing instruments, or robots and the interaction with robots and the whole PNG system in terms of data system and planning stages. What we have experienced a lot when we develop these robotic applications, and we have done, I think, in the range of, let's say, 30 to 50 of those 500 methods today imply robotics. In developing that, we've seen that something that takes away a lot of development time and causes a lot of problems is the dealing with unexpected events. So I take a sample, but the sample falls down, or I take a sample and the test fails, or power goes off, or any other, again, as the word says, unexpected events. This is something that needs typically human interventions. We need to put if then else or a lot of manual conditions in the system that try to avoid those items. And this is an area where AI planning, we think that AI planning can bring a lot of benefits. Fourth one is the human-robot interactions problem. So today, I think that we would like to speed up and improve a lot the interaction between our lab operators that many times are they are non-expert in robotics, they're very expert chemists or chemical engineers, but not really in robotics. So to simplify the interaction and speed up this interaction, AI planning can definitely play a role there. And finally, the one where we're looking a lot for future evolution is the fact that we don't want to, if we think that we want to deploy a robotics application for all those 5,000 approaches, doing that in a traditional coding way would take a long time and be very expensive. So if we could apply AI planning in order to speed up the development of new applications by reapplying past experiences and by making the robot capable of interacting with new tests and with new experiments without necessarily having to recode at low level the operation, that would mean a very high gain for us. Now, in this context, we have started collaborating with the other partners in the AIPlan4EU, specifically with the University of Rome. And we started by addressing one case study. So this is, so we designed a test cell that you see there in the picture. That is a cell that has the objective of running 3 tests that we need to perform on our laundry pods. You see an example there. So these are the soluble unidose pods that you put in the washing machine. But there are a number of safety requirements for those products. So we need to measure the weight, we need to measure the tightness and the strength of the pouch. So for safety reasons, of course, it cannot burst below a certain force. And this is something that we have several people doing that today in our labs and in the plants. It's not really a nice job because there are it's kind of messy, there are high sounds, and so it's not really something that people want to do. So we want to use this as a test case for AI planning, and we are doing that right now. We just had 2 students from Rome that stayed with us for 3 months. And the objective there is building a system which is capable of running 24/7, in which you see that there are a number of drawers. In these drawers, human operators can put trays of several hundred pouches continuously, and the robot can decide which test to run. It will interact with 3 instruments, number 5, 6, and 7 that you see on screen, and all data that is produced will end up automatically in our data systems. The other interesting thing in this case that there are several failure points. So there are many bad things or unexpected things that can happen. And this is where in the past we struggled a lot with this method, because handling these pouches is not exactly simple. The instruments sometimes give unexpected results. The pouch can fall, or the pouch might not burst at a certain force, and so on and so forth. So we are currently testing the application of AI planning to this case. We are really in the process, so I cannot yet show cooked results. I can show you the latest plan that we have drafted, this manual plan that we have drafted. We are working with the University of Rome to automate some of this decision-making process. And hopefully in the next 2-3 months, we should already have a much more automated way of planning the experiments. But it's something that I think so far we've seen encouraging results. And I think by the end of the calendar year, we might already have something that works a lot better than the fixed planning that we had in the past, and hopefully we'll deploy these operations in our labs and in our plants very soon. To close, again, just saying this is where we are. We have a first prototype completed, which can already address basic failure points. However, as I said, the main plan has been hand generated, although in a few areas we're already applying the AIPlan4EU techniques. I think the next steps is really automating the plan generation and starting to put in the interaction with human operators. And on a longer term, our interest will really be to start increasing the complexity of the unit, which you saw had 1 robot and 3 instruments. We'd like to move in a situation where there are multiple robots interacting, more than 3 instruments. And so, of course, the planning complexity become higher because we need to decide where is the instrument that is less used, how to optimize the whole chain and the interaction with people to get the most results in the shortest time. But based on what I've seen so far, I'm very confident that we'll get there. And that's it on my side, I think.
Thank you so much, Fabio, for being here and explaining this particular use case. So you just reinforced even more that literally any field can be used, any area can be valid or used for this project and can benefit from being here. So thank you so much for your presentation. Okay, so we are moving along, and next I will give the stage to the open call for use case winners from Raw Mobility. It's Raw Mobility, sorry, I was checking if I wasn't saying it wrong. So guys, the floor is yours. Please do explain how you end up here and what are the progresses you are making and what is your use case in particular. Please go along.
Thank you, Marina. Let me share my screen. You can see my screen, right?
We can. It's not in presentation mode. Yes, now it is. Now it is, yes.
Okay, just a second. Okay, thank you again. And hello, everybody. And my name is Erdinc, and I am the co-founder of Raw Mobility. First, the introduction to our company, what we are doing. Here at Raw Mobility, we are working on indoor and urban mobility services. And our target is to make these services safer and more efficient through digitization and autonomy. Raw Mobility has been established with more than 30 years of academia and industry experience in total. Following his PhD in robotics, Ahmetcan had research studies on smart wheelchairs in Northwestern University. After that, he had technical leader roles in a global autonomous driving company. And with his broad technical knowledge and experience, Ahmetcan is leading the technology side of Raw Mobility. And I have spent more than 15 years, first in Russia as an expat, and after that in Germany and Turkey, in power plants, gas terminals, and in data center industries. As skills I have developed within these years on team and operations management, I am responsible on operations and business side of the company. Okay, if you look at the mobility, what's the term of mobility? Different definition, direct definition of mobility is ability to move or to be moved, but it is still dependent on a technology built centuries ago in our society. And our today's technology is still not used in most of the mobility services. And as Raw Mobility, we have the vision of using the AI algorithms on our real-time image process data to reach a safer and more efficient mobility system by avoiding crashes and reducing the number of accidents. And our plug-and-play edge intelligence can be retrofitted to function as a central nervous system to any micro-mobility system, as well as indoor transportation vehicles. In the light of this target, we have completed our first technology validation of our product. We named it Safe Walk, and completed our field tests and showed that we can avoid crashes with our real-time image processing and AI algorithms. With the integration of AI planning, with route optimization and scheduling, we will transform the mobility as safer and more effective services. And why we have applied to AIPlan4EU? As I tried to mention, we are aiming to reach a mobility 2.0 system. From this definition, what we mean is taking human effort out of the equation and avoid human error. So we are imagining a mobility service where it is impossible to crash and perfectly scheduled according to demands. In our case, AIPlan4EU and planning algorithm is a great complement for this ultimate goal. With that in mind, we have sent our use case detailing the planning needs on indoor mobility services. And indoor person transportation, especially in large complexes like huge airports, is still not optimized due to the complexity of vehicle types, the destination request, timetables, and continuous alterations, real-time alterations. If you look at the mobility services being used at airports now, in large airports, there are buggy services, personal wheelchair services, and very recently and rarely used e-scooters are available to meet this transportation demands in terminals. Each of these services have different passenger capacity and capability, of course. While e-scooters can be used for personal and light transportation, buggy services can serve families with luggages. On the other hand, wheelchairs are for elderly and disabled passengers. But indoor mobility services are becoming more and more important with longer walking distances as the airports are becoming larger and larger. And walking distances is one of the most important index for the airport service quality. In some of the airports, these distances can take for passengers more than half an hour, as it is mostly not possible to minimize these distances to be covered. A safer, more effective, and commonly used mobility service is crucial to increase service quality of the airports. Now we can see our focus use case location, Istanbul Airport, and how mobility issues are managed. Istanbul Airport has the biggest terminal with approximately 1.5 million square meters, and you need to walk long distances, both for arrivals and departures. Mainly buggy services are used to cover these walking distances, but you can only book and take buggies from certain locations where you need to walk them. And at that locations, you have to interact with the service personnel, and the reservation is done manually without any optimization. Following that, you will be driven by a service personnel again to your requested destination. With around 50 million passengers yearly, it's not possible to meet the demand of terminal passenger transportation with the mobility system used, existing mobility systems, manually operated and manually scheduled. It's a fact that in our use case location in Istanbul Airport, a widely serviceable mobility system which requires minimum service personnel and can operate automatically with maximum efficiency need to be in service. And there are mainly 4 shortcomings causing complaints of the current services. Buggy service points, as we have seen and touched on, are in predefined locations, and passengers need to walk long distances to these locations. And other mobility service wheelchairs are only for passengers with special needs and requires a dedicated personnel. E-scooters, which are very recently being used and rarely used, are generally used by younger passengers with no or light luggage, and they are not integrated to other mobility services. Sorry. And finally, reservation is done manually in predefined locations by additional personnel with no scheduling. If we try to go in detail with an example use case, 2 different passengers booking buggy service, either together with his or her flight ticket, or before his flight, or even during his or her flight, through an app or web interface. Planning algorithm matches the flight details of these passengers and schedules the correct buggy type to be at the correct arrival gate and takes them to pass control. current operations, you need to walk most of the distance to the buggy service points and take the buggy. And in this case, there will be 2 separate buggies will operate with 2 dedicated service personnel, which is not effective at all. If you look at a bit more complex example for a departure scenario, let's say 6 passengers request buggy services to gate A150 and 1 passenger to gate A100. And the maximum capacity of the vehicle buggy is 4 passengers. Planning algorithm issues a buggy for the 4 of the 6 people directly and drops them off the gate. And planning algorithm matches 2 remaining requests of 2 passengers to gate A150 and a single passenger to gate A100 and assigns a buggy for them. Buggy takes all 3 passengers and first it drops the single passenger to gate A100 and proceeds to gate A150 and completes the route. In current scenario, in existing operations with manual services, in best case scenario, more than 3 vehicles would have to be in operation with more than 3 service personnel. So isn't there any alternative solution for the current shortcomings? Yes, but for the availability and to make it widely serviceable, airport operations need to increase the service personnel and number of buggies, which will end up with enormously increased cost and still with low passenger satisfaction. Also, with increased fleet and personnel, it will be chaotic to schedule the services, and this will create even more ineffective services. But with planning and digitized buggies, airport operations will be able to reach a mobility service which has a great utilization factor and high passenger satisfaction. And how the planning will be applied? First of all, the flight and passenger data, including all timetables, real-time tables, need to be accessed from the airport operations. Also, localization of buggies inside the terminal need to be monitored in real time. According to these data, together with passenger requests through, as mentioned, through an app or a web interface, planning algorithm will decide how many vehicles, which type, and where to be sent. Airport operations will then have the option of tuning the maximum wait times for each passenger and also maximum stops considering the airport service quality criteria and cost of the operations. And how frequent the planning will be running. Planning will be triggered whenever a new user request is in and in case of emergencies and layout changes. Inputs, planning algorithm will need following inputs to correctly function. The number of passengers and their destination requests, together with their special needs, if there is any. The fleet informations, such as how many vehicles are available and their battery levels. And finally, the map of the environment. With all that inputs available, planning algorithm will decide on the type of the vehicle to be utilized, the optimized route, charging interval of vehicles, and finally, operation intervals for traffic and passenger wait time optimization. In order to show the efficiency of planning algorithm with metrics, we will be following the change in battery consumption, idle vehicle time, distance driven per passenger, which in total improves the lifetime of buggies together with predictive maintenance, and of course, passenger satisfaction and overall mobility operation costs. Through these KPIs, we want to track the following value propositions of the planning algorithm: increased fleet efficiency, energy saving, reduced traffic, decreased operation costs, improved passenger satisfaction, and increased revenue because there will be an increase on demand for this new mobility system. In addition to these value propositions, we are aiming also several societal impacts with this new system. There are less CO2 footprint with reduced traffic, less idle use of vehicles, and improved charging cycles, and positive community effects by improving the capacity of motion of elderly and disabled citizens to be more involved in the workforce and recreational travels. So that's all from our side. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Erdinc, for being here and presenting the raw mobility use case. Just to remind that these are one of the Open Call 2 use case winners, so they will be involved in the project in the AIPlan4EU in the next steps, so they can apply to the next phase of the AIPlan4EU project. And as you can see, a lot of fields, areas, we are searching for all types of problems that can be solved or improved by using AI planning. So thank you very much. So now I will give the word to Luisa, and she will explain a bit about the open call process, where you need to go, how to apply, what to fill in. So Luisa, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marina. So let me share my screen here. One moment. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Luisa Gonçalves from F6S. F6S, as Marina mentioned in the beginning of the session, it's one of the partners that is responsible for the online dissemination and for the management of the open call end-to-end. So here I will start with this picture that Andrea has already showed you. Because our intent with the open call is to select some use cases that are internal, that are external of the product. So to be an integrative part of the use case collection that are being developed and improved in the project. So we follow here a couple of processes according to the European Commission directives in order to select some quality use cases that will help and support the overall project. So here is just one summary of the open call, including the open call 3 for use cases that's now open. But I will give you here a general overview of the open calls so that you can understand how they are related. So we first here have two types of open calls, the open call for use cases and the open call for innovators. We have already issued two open calls last year and the other one this year, in the beginning of this year. So this is the third one open call to select use cases. So we have another type of open call, the open call for innovators, that will address different tracks. We have already issued one open call earlier this year, and we will issue another one in October, November. So this open call is more technical, and in which your use cases will have the chance to be developed and to be integrated in the platform. So here is just an overview of the budget of the open calls. For this open call, the open call 3 for use cases, we will pay 1,500 euros for the open call winner. We will select 5 projects, and the activities after the selection of and evaluation will be to participate in a workshop, and I will explain better in the following slides. But just for you to have an idea of this budget for this open call, but you have the opportunity to participate in the open call for innovators, and you will be funded with more money. that is around 30,000 euros. So it's, and of course, it requires more time participating in the project, not only 1 month, but around 6-7 months. But I will explain better in the following slides, the activities. So here's just a general overview of the open call and the open call process. This is a standard process that we follow for all the open calls, not only the open call tree for use cases, but also for innovators. And here in F6S, even the other projects follow the same process that starts with the submission of your proposal through a form in the F6S platform, and we do some eligibility check just to ensure that your proposal is it follows the rules of the open call, namely the eligibility countries and the other very simple rules that I will explain in the next slides. And if it's okay, your proposal will advance to the evaluation, and our technical partners from the consortium will analyze your proposal, your use case, and check if it's okay to have this use case in our project or not. If yes, your proposal will advance to the next stage, that is the legal part, the sub-grant agreement signature, and then the participation in the workshop. So how to apply in practical terms, because there are some very simple steps that you should follow to be successful. So first, before submitting, I recommend accessing the website, the project website, and you can navigate here in this session, because there are very interesting information about the project, the use cases that are already being developed in the project, and the open call session is here, apply now. So in this session, you just click there and then you find some very basic information about the open call. For example, some that we consider key information. For example, who we are looking for, what the funding we offer, and the schedule. And then you find very important documents that I recommend reading this before submitting. Here you find the open call text, that this document is a standard, and it's very informative about the open call scope and some more practical information. And this second one, the guide for applications, that I consider the most important one, because here sorry, you will find the main information and the open call rules and how to apply and all the criteria that we follow to select the use cases. So I recommend to read this document, and there you will find all the information and all the needed information to apply. And the third one is the use case template. This document is you will describe your use cases using this template. So it's very important here that you consider this template and upload this template. Otherwise, your proposal cannot advance to the evaluation stage. So this step is very important to consider the document. So here you can see one example, a picture of the template, just for you to understand that this document was developed in order to facilitate the description. So we put here some limits for pages and some questions, so that you can describe your use case in a very objective way and a very assertive way. That will facilitate, of course, the evaluation and the reading of the evaluators. So you don't, it's a very simple document, but in this document all the description of your use case will be, and of course it will be very important for the evaluators to understand your use case and to analyze it. And then after reading the guide for applicants and checking the template and filling it, you are ready to submit submit your proposal. So in that page on the website, you find a button and click on this button, and then you will be guided to the F6S platform. And in this platform, you will only fill a form. So this form is very, very simple, and there you will find the link for the use case template, just in case you didn't pay attention to the document, and the opportunity to upload this document. So this is a very, very simple process. This is the final process of your submission, and try to consider the upload of this document, of the use case template. As I mentioned, it's very important for the evaluation. So after this, after submitting your proposal, we will check if everything is okay. For example, if your proposal is from an eligible country, the uniqueness of your proposal, and some other filters that you can find described in the guide for applicants. If it's okay, your proposal will advance to the evaluation. So in the evaluation, the consortium partners will consider 3 criteria. So the technology innovation, the impact of your use case, and some brief description of the integration of your use case that is very, very important for them to check if your use case is relevant for the project or not. The online interviews that I mentioned here is optional. Sometimes if the evaluator consider that there are some points that needs to be clarified in your proposal, we will invite you for an interview, but it depends a lot on the evaluation and on the evaluator's analysis. And finally, the consensus meeting board is a meeting that the recruiters and the consortium partners will decide, will achieve the 5 use cases that will advance to the workshop. So the contracting phase, as I mentioned, is the legal part that involves the check of documents, and our partners that FBK will request some documents and to sign the contract with the consortium, and and get funded, of course, and some information for funding. So after the open call, so after all this process, so what is expected? As I mentioned, the participation in the workshop. So in this workshop, it's the one-day workshop in which you have the opportunity to detail your use case, and the consortium partners will be there. They will make some, they will question a lot about different details. It's more technical, of course, because they need to analyze if your use case can be eligible to be in the open call for innovators. So and this is the second part, that you will have the opportunity to participate in the open call for innovators through track C. It means that your use case, if the consortium partners say yes, they can move on. So we will try to find a technology-specific bridge developer for use case. And you can see here in the picture, so you'll be funded with 30,000 euros. And we will open the opportunity for TSB's developers to submit a proposal to address your use case. So in this open call, it doesn't mean that you are going you're not going again in this process of selection, because it will be already selected during the workshop, and then we will find a TSB developer to address your use case. So in terms of timeline, so the publication and promotion of the open call is now open since June 9. So this year we extended a little bit the time that the submissions are open because of summer holidays. So it will close in September 1st. So the evaluation will be in September, during the month of September, and the contracting phase during the month of October, and the workshop will take place in late October until mid-November. That is the available period. So in case you advance to the open call innovators, and imagine that we will find the TSB developers that match with your use case, you'll be committed with the project for more 6-7 months. And probably the acceleration program will take place between April and September of 2023. Just for you to have an idea of time in terms of schedule. So just to wrap up here, because there was a lot of information. So you need to apply following that rules, that access the website and you find all the steps to apply. Then specify your use case and try to go into details and to show that you have a very good use case in AI planning. So the consortium partners are very competent to analyze your use case, of course, following the evaluation criteria that was established for this project. And of course, if you participate in the workshop and the consortium confirm that you can advance, we will try to find a technology-specific bridge for your use case. And so you have the chance to increase your participation in the project. So as I mentioned before, please check the eligibility criteria. And here I just want to remark that the target applicants are different organizations, not only SMEs, not only large companies, but also research institutes and different institutes, universities, individuals are also welcome. And in different, you can apply in different domains. So we are not constraining here the domains, because we would like to integrate your use case to the AI4EU platform. So it's very, very important to diversify. So don't be afraid to propose a use case in a very different domain from what has been addressed, from those that have been addressed in the project. And if you are a student, if you are from a research institute, if you are from a large company or an SME, all these type of applicants are welcome. And again, the deadline is September 1st. So don't miss out this opportunity. So if you'd like to reach out to us with questions, we usually answer to your question through the email that you can see here, and also go to the project website, because there you will find the summarized information and all the documents in order to go into details with the rules, and we will be glad to answer all your questions. So thank you very much. And if you have any question, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Luisa, for your very clear explanation of the open call process. And so now we have a few minutes if anyone wants to, I don't know, make a question that didn't have the opportunity to do it before. So now it's the time. Please use the Q&A chat if you have any questions. Okay, if not, I actually do have a question for Andrea. Something that we did not talk about during your presentations, I think, if you did, sorry, but maybe it's good to reinforce, is how we handle the intellectual property of the use cases that are being provided to us.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very important point. So we are very open with this respect. So what we ask is some description of the use case to be put on the European AI on demand platform. So a very general statement of where planning is being applied. And then for instead the demonstrator that can be developed by passing to the open call for innovators, there instead you can keep your own IPR, right? You can use your own data and develop your own demonstrator. We need some access to the evaluation part so that we can, let's say, show that you actually use planning technology and measure what was the impact of the AI planning in your domain. But we are absolutely free to also use closed source solution or to maintain the data at your own premises. So we are very aware of the problem and we're very flexible with respect to that. Then, of course, there is the general principle in the European project that is we want to be as open as possible. So if the data can be open, if the solution can be deployed as an open source software, the better, but it's not a mandatory requirement.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying this. And okay, I just want to reinforce that the call will be open until the 1st of September. So you have all summer to read the documentation that Luisa showed you and to go through the process. And if you have any questions, any doubts, please feel free to reach out to us using the email that you can see on the screen, AIPlan4EU_support@fbk.eu. Also, this recording will be available on our YouTube channel. Probably tomorrow it will be there already, so you can rewatch and see. If you have any doubts, any questions, at any point, feel free to reach out. And if there is no more questions, I would like to thank you all for your presence here. I would like to have a special thanks to our speakers, to our participants, and to everyone that was involved. Thank you so much for being here and have a nice afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.